morning, dear students. Welcome to Criminal Law 1, a lecture review of Attorney Alex Garcia. Today, we will discuss the general principles and the Book 1 of the Revised Penal Code. Before we start, I have some recommendations that I would like to give you. These are tips on how to study this material. So you might be listening on YouTube or if you have downloaded this, ito yung mga bagay or tips na pwede natin gawin. Una, ulit-uliting pakinggan, okay? Retention is repetition. Kailangan nyo lang ulit-ulitin, pakinggan hanggang pumasok sa isip, okay? Pangalawa, you can set the speed to 1.5 or 2 times speed para mas mabilis at marami kayong ma-cover na lecture. Maganda rin na gawin itong playlist kapag naglalaba kayo or naglalakad or nag-exercise or doing something else apart from actual reviewing. Maganda to kapag nasa jeep din kayo at nakikinig o nasa sasakyan. Pangatlo, always answer the bar cue drills in this video. Importante na masanay kayo sa pagsagot ng mga multiple choice questions and eliminating the obvious defect answer. Importante yan because board examination is about exam taking skills. Dapat sanay kayo na sumagot even under the pressure, even you don't know the answer kasi the process of elimination will help you greatly in passing the board exam. And also join the Facebook group for the weekly mock bar. I will send the links on how to join our weekly mock bar exams. Okay, so let's proceed to our uh, topic. The very first thing that we have to discuss is the definition of criminal law and also the definition of felony, offenses, and infraction of the law. So, criminal law is a branch of public law that deals
Criminal
with
Law Board
crimes,
questions. Number 1.
traits of
Which
their
of the
nature,
following
and
best
provides for
defines
their
the principle of
penalties. A
generality?
criminal law usually comes with a penalty, right? If a person violates a penal law in the Philippines, it is more of an offense against the state than against the private offended party or the victim or the heirs of the victim. Hence, when there's a violation of the law or criminal law, there are two injuries produced. Number one, social injury against the state for the disturbance of public order. Second is a personal injury against the private offended party or the victim because of the damage injury caused on him. For example, ang krimen ay ang pagnanakaw, okay? Ang pagnanakaw ay hindi lang po kasalanan dun sa ninakawan, kundi pati sa mismong state because the state has to protect the harmony of the society. Hence, kapag may sinampang krimen, ang dinudulog ito sa police or sa state kasi unang-unang nabibiktima dyan is the harmony of the society. Secondary yung mismong complainant. Again, that's the criminal law. Now let's talk about the definition of crime. A crime is an act committed or omitted in violation of the public law forbidding or compelling it. Crime is an encompassing word. Ibig sabihin, malaking word ang crime. Napapaloob dito ang mga sumusunod. Felony, offenses, infraction of the law. Ano po ba yung felony? So according to Revised Penal Code Article 3, ito ay felonies are act or omission punished by the Revised Penal Code. Basta ito ay pinaparusahan ng Revised Penal Code, ang tawag dyan is felony. Ang offense naman, ito ay yung mga acts or omission na pinaparusahan ng special penal law. Ito yung mga special penal laws are mga special na batas o batas na enact outside the revised penal code. At pangatlo, yung infraction of the law. These are acts or omission punished by the local ordinance as enacted by the local sanggunian. So ulitin natin, felony, these are crimes that are punished by the revised penal code. Offenses, these are acts or omission punished by the special penal laws enacted by Congress. And infraction of the law, these are act or omission punished by the local ordinances of enacted by the local sangguniang bayan. So ano-ano ang mga examples ng felony? Ang felony yan, yung mga murder, theft, estafa, because these are defined in your revised penal code. So ang tawag doon mga felony. Ang offenses naman, these are yung mga special penal laws. So pwede ito yung sale and possession of dangerous drugs. Di ba kasi nakapaloob yan sa ating comprehensive dangerous drug, which is considered a special penal law. Hindi siya batas na napapaloob sa revised penal code. At infraction of the law, ito yung mga offenses or omission na pinaparusahan ng mga ordinansa ng barangay or sanggunian. So ito yung mga anti-littering, anti-smoking, or mga ordinances like anti-jaywalking. Ito yung mga batas or mga batas na nilalabag ay nasa sangguniang level. Ang tawag dyan is infraction of the law. Pag-usapan naman natin ang mga sources o yung mga pinagmumulan ng ating Philippine Criminal Law. Unang-una sa ating listahan ay ang Revised Penal Code, pangalawang Special Penal Laws, at pangatlo ang mga Penal Executive Orders or Penal Presidential Decrees. Kanina nabanggit natin ang mga sangguniang ordinances which could be a source of criminal law. Now, importanteng intindihin na ang Congress ang may kapangyarihan para mag-enact ng penal laws. There are, however, instances wherein Congress would enact the law that would delegate to the President the power to issue penal executive orders. Again, ulitin natin, di ba? Usually, ang Congress siyang gumagawa ng batas, ang Presidente bilang head ng Executive Department ng ating gobyerno ang siyang nagpapatupad nito. Ngayon, may mga instances where the Congress may authorize the President to create penal laws. This is not inherent to the powers of the President. Ibig sabihin, hindi naman talaga siya parte ng kapangyarihan ng Presidente, kundi binibigay lang panandalian ng ating Congress. Without the enacted law delegating the same, the president cannot exercise such powers. And although the Congress has the power to enact penal laws, there are certain limitations on their power to enact penal laws. So ano nga ba itong mga um, limitation on the power to enact penal laws? Unang-una, um, it must be general in application. Pangalawa, not ex post facto law. Pangatlo, not bill of attainder. At pang-apat, penal laws cannot impose cruel or unusual punishment or excessive fine. Ano po bang sinasabi ng general in application? Ano po bang ibig sabihin nun? Ang sinasabi ni general application, makikita nyo rin siya as generality. Okay? So, pwedeng general in application or must be generality. Generality, our penal law shall be binding on all persons residing in the Philippines, whether he's a Filipino citizen or a foreigner, regardless of race, creed, color, religion, or other personal circumstances. Therefore, whoever you are, if you are in the Philippines, you have to comply with Philippine penal laws. You're obligated, bound to comply to follow the Philippine penal law. Otherwise, you can be arrested, you can be prosecuted, and you can be punished. Ha? Ano pong ibig sabihin yan? Ang ibig sabihin yan, kesyo Amerikano ka, Pilipino, basta nasa loob ka ng Pilipinas, ito at ginawa mo ang kasalanan na yan, nag-a-apply sa'yo yan. Kasi lugi nga naman ang Pilipino, di ba? Pag Pilipino nagnakaw, ang Amerikano nagnakaw sa Pilipinas, ibig po bang sabihin sa Pilipino lang siya mag-a-apply yung ating batas? Hindi. Basta dito siya sa ating bansa, it applies generally, no? Sa Pilipino o kahit sa sino mang tao na nandito sa Pilipinas. Okay, may mga exceptions tayo dito sa general application. Ibig sabihin, ang criminal law hindi sa lahat ng pagkakataon nag-a-apply sa lahat ng tao na nasa Pilipinas. May mga exceptions tayo. Ito yung mga tinatawag nating mga exceptions. Yung diplomatic immunity from suit. Ito yung immunity against Philippine criminal law. So normally ang mga meron nito ay ang mga chief of states o yung mga presidente o pinuno ng bansa, sovereigns o yung mga hari or mga regents, at other diplomatic representatives such as public ministers and ambassadors. They are immune from the criminal jurisdiction of the country where they are assigned. Bakit po? Bakit sila pwedeng hindi sila kung kahit nagnakaw sila, hindi sila pwedeng hulihin o arestuhin? Kasi nga nirerespeto ng Pilipinas ang sovereignty at saka ang mga bansang to, pinuno ng bansa bilang co-equal. Okay? So yan yung tinatawag nating diplomatic immunity from suit. Kasi kung masasubmit sila sa jurisdiction ng ating criminal court, ibig sabihin nagbabow down sila. Ibig sabihin sumasubmit sila, ibig sabihin mas mababa sila sa Pilipinas. So hindi pwede yon sa international law. Okay? Hence yung prinsipyo ng ating diplomatic immunity from suit. Kailangan din po nating tandaan ito parati itong lumalabas pati sa bar exams and board exams. It is also settled that although a consul is a diplomatic representative, a consul does not enjoy the same diplomatic immunity from suit as sovereigns and other heads of state. Ang mga consul, no? Therefore, a consul can be prosecuted before the courts of the host country the moment he commits a violation of the penal laws of the said host country. Ang consul, hindi automatic na immune siya, okay? Magiging immune lang siya sa mga sumusunod. Kapag ang consul acts committed by the said consul is in the performance of his function. So habang nagtatrabaho siya, or kung yung ginawa niya is in relation to his job as a consul. And second, if there's a treaty stipulation between the mother country or the consul and the host country saying that his particular consul is immune from suit. So again, una kapag nagtatrabaho siya or yung violation is in relation to the job he's performing as a consul. Pangalawa, kapag may treaty o agreement between the mother country and the Philippines. Okay? Pag-usapan naman natin ang ating territoriality. Okay? Sorry, ang ex post facto law. Ano po itong ex post facto law? Ang ex post facto law, ang ibig lang sabihin niyan is dapat ito ay ano po ba ang ex post facto law? So, ang ex post facto law is a law that which an act criminal, although at the time it was committed, it was not yet so. Whereas ang pagkakaiba niya sa bill of attainder, it is a law which punishes the offender without giving him the opportunity to be heard, without giving him the opportunity to state his side of the story, without due process. So pasimple natin. Ang ibig sabihin ng ex post facto law, batas pagkatapos ng act, 'di ba? Kunwari, sabihin natin na ang pagnanakaw nung 1920s ay legal, 'di ba? Legal pa ang pagnanakaw. Walang batas na nagbabawal sa pagnanakaw nung 1920s. Ginawa mo siya 1920. Tapos pagkatapos nun gumawa ka ng nagnakaw ka ginawa yung batas 1921. So nagnakaw ka 1920, ginawa yung batas na pinagbabawal magnakaw 1921. So hindi ka pwede bilang tao nagnakaw noong 1920, hindi ka sakop ng 1921 na batas because apart from it being prospective dapat in nature, it cannot be enacted in retrogress or para gawing illegal ang mga bagay na legal bago pa ginawa yung batas na yan. Okay? So, isa rin sa mga prinsipyo na yan is walang krimen hanggat walang batas na nagbabawal dito. So ang pagnanakaw, nagiging krimen lang yan kapag may batas na nagbabawal, which in this case, the Revised Penal Code. Okay? So ang ibig sabihin ng ex post facto law, ito yung mga batas na ginawa para parusahan ng mga nakaraang kasalanan na hindi pa naman krimen nung ginawa ito. And then Bill of Attainder, ano po ba ang Bill of Attainder? Ang Bill of Attainder naman, ang ibig sabihin nito, ito yung um, batas kung saan it punishes the offender without giving him the opportunity to be heard, without giving him the opportunity to state his side of the story, and without the due process law. Bawal na bawal po yan. No? Hindi ka pwedeng ikulong ng walang due process of law kasi constitutional right natin yan, ang due process. Hindi ka pwedeng ikulong nang hindi ka napapakinggan or dumadaan sa due process of law. Pang-apat, penal laws cannot impose a cruel or unusual punishment or excessive fine. Nasa ating constitution din yan na bawal mag-impose ng cruel or unusual punishment because it also violates our principal human right. So, pag-usapan natin ang characteristics of Philippine criminal law, okay? Very important ito, parati itong natatanong. Tatandaan, GTP, generality, territoriality, at saka prospectivity. Ang generality dapat general in application, territoriality ibig sabihin within the territory of the Philippines, at pangatlo prospectivity dapat nangyayari siya or applicable lang siya in the future, hindi siya pwedeng mag-apply in the past. Okay? So ano po bang ibig sabihin ng generality? Ang generality ibig sabihin that our penal law shall be binding on all persons. Kaya nga general in applications on all persons residing in the Philippines, whether he's a Filipino citizen or a foreigner, regardless of race, creed, color, religion, or other personal circumstances. Ibig sabihin, kahit sino ka pa, if you are in the Philippines, you have to comply with Philippine penal laws. Walang exception. Except of course yung mga pinuno ng mga bata ay pinuno ng mga bansa, hari, reyna, presidente, at yung mga may diplomatic immunity. Sila yung mga exempt dito sa general application. Okay? Pangalawa naman po, sino po yung mga, ano po yung ibig sabihin ng territoriality? From the root word territory, ibig sabihin, dapat ang krimen nangyari sa bansa. Otherwise, it wouldn't apply. Hindi, walang jurisdiction ang Pilipinas dyan. Okay? Territoriality or penal laws shall have the force and effect within the Philippine archipelago, including its atmosphere, interior waters, and maritime zone. Therefore, for every act committed in the Philippine archipelago, our criminal laws apply. But for acts committed outside the territory of the Philippines, the offender cannot be prosecuted before Philippine courts kasi wala tayong jurisdiction. Ang jurisdiction lang ng ating mga criminal courts are within the Philippine territory. The exception to the territory principle of criminal law is provided for under Article 2 of the Revised Penal Code. So, ano pong ibig sabihin nun? Except as provided in the treaties and laws of preferential application, the provisions in this code shall be enforced not only within the Philippine archipelago, including its atmosphere, its interior waters, and maritime zone, but also outside the jurisdiction against those who shall commit an offense while on Philippine ship or airship. Paano po pag ginawa ang pagpatay, wala po sa Pilipinas pero nasa Singapore na siya. Pero lulan sila ng Philippine Airlines or isang airline na registered under the Philippines. So, kasama pa rin po. Pwede po natin silang i-prosecute because the Philippine ship or the Philippine airship is considered an extension of the Philippine territory. Okay? Isa yun sa mga exception. Pangalawa, ano po ba yung exception sa territorial ano? Pag ang krimen na sinasabi natin, ito yung pamimeke ng pera, ng coins, ng barya ng Philippines at ginawa ito sa ibang bansa, that's still covered by the extraterritorial, no? Kasi nga medyo sinisira nila yung imahe ng bansa. So isa yan sa mga exceptions. Ano pa ba? Kapag, ayun, yung mga crimes against national security and the law of nations, this can also be prosecuted even outside the Philippine territory. So yun ang ibig sabihin nun, di ba? Kapag ang general rule natin, kapag territoriality, ang mga Philippine crimes can only be prosecuted within the Philippines, within the territory of the Philippines. Pero may mga exceptions tayo, gaya nga ng sabi natin, kung ito ay ginawa sa Philippine Airlines or Philippine ships. Hindi lang Philippine Airlines, baka yung Cebu Pacific, di ba? Baka inisip nyo lang Philippine Airlines. No? Yung mga, ibig sabihin mga eroplano o mga barko na registered under the Philippines, they are considered an extension of Philippine territory. So kapag pinatay sila kahit nasa ibang bansa sila, basta doon sila sa ships na yon, they are considered within the jurisdiction of uh, Philippines. At ang prospectivity, ang ibig sabihin naman nito na ang prospective, it only operates in the future. This characteristic provides that our penal laws shall only operate prospectively. So our penal laws, as a rule, cannot be given retroactive application. Ibig sabihin, hindi siya pwedeng magparusa ng mga krimen na hindi naman krimen nung panahon or bago pa siya ginawa. Okay, yung example natin kanina, nagnakaw siya 1920. Pero yung pagnanakaw, legal pa naman noong 1920. Gumawa ng batas 1921. So yung batas na yun, hindi siya pwedeng gamitin para parusahan yung mga nagnakaw noong 1920 or earlier. Pwede lang siyang gamitin kung kailan naging effective yung batas, 1921 and in the future. So yun ang ibig sabihin ng prospectivity. Meron namang kung saan pwedeng mag-apply ang batas sa nakaraan. Pero on the part of pagpapababa ng sentensya or kung tinatawag natin na kung ang batas or yung even the amendments are in favor to the accused, usually ginagawa natin, ina-apply natin siya. Pero kapag parusa naman, pinapataas yung parusa or nagkakaroon ng parusa sa mga krimen na hindi naman kasalanan dati, hindi yun pwede. Pero kapag pagpapababa ng pagkakakulong or sentensya or penalty, pwedeng-pwede po siya. Okay? One of the favorite concept in criminal law is the theories of classical theory, positivist theory, at saka mixed or eclectic theory. So ano-ano ba itong mga theory to? These theories defines why criminal law is established in our society. Under classical or juristic philosophy, the basis of criminal liability is the moral trait of the offender. Man is a moral person or creature who understands right from wrong, good from evil. Hence, when he does a wrong willfully, he does it voluntarily. Yan ang tinatawag natin na classical philosophy or classical theory. Pag narinig nyo na yung salitang man is a moral creature who understand right from wrong, understood na yan as classical. What is positivist theory? The basis of criminal liability is a man's social environment. Hindi yung tao, kundi yung mga nakapaligid sa kanya. All men are presumed born to be good. No man is born evil. What makes man do evil things is the association that he has with his fellow being, with his social environment. Yan ang ating tinatawag na positivist theory. Ngayon, isa sa mga pagkakaiba nila ay yung purpose ng penalty. Under the classical theory, the purpose of penalty is to exact retribution para pagbayarin, 'di ba? Yung may kasalanan under classical theory. Pangalawa, sa positivist theory, the purpose of penalty is rehabilitation para tulungan yung may sala. Ulitin natin, ang classical theory, ina-assume niya na ang tao alam niya ang mali sa tama. Samantalang ang positivist theory, iniisip niya parating positive yung tao. Pinanganak na mabuting tao at nagagawa niya lang yung mga kamalian because of bad influence of the surrounding. Sa classical theory, pinaparusahan natin ang krimen dahil retribution or paghihiganti or kabayaran yan doon sa kasalanang ginawa. Sa positivist theory, ginagawa naman ito or yung there's a punishment because we want to rehabilitate the person because he's considered socially sick. Okay? At mapapansin nyo rin sa classical theory na parating sinasabi rin ito sa mga iba't ibang libro, kapag classical theory, maririnig nyo yung mga terms or doctrines na an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. 'Di ba? Medyo mas matapang ang classical theory kaysa sa positivist theory. Ano naman po yung mixed or eclectic theory? The mixed or eclectic theory is a combination of both. Mixed or eclectic, pinaghalo. Under this, crimes which are heinous in nature shall be dealt with in a classical manner, and crimes which are considered social or economic in nature shall be dealt with the positivist or realistic. So dito, pinaghalong classical at saka positivist. Kung masyadong masama, like murder, rape, yung krimen, ang ginagamit natin is yung classical theory kapag eclectic siya. Kapag may mga maliliit lang na mga krimen, ordinansa, yung mga theft, yung mga light felonies, ginagamit natin yung positivist theory. So pinaghahalo natin to at saka ina-apply lang natin kung or depende sa um, kasalanan or krimen na nagawa ng nasasangkot. Okay? So that's the theories of philosophies of criminal law. Parating tatandaan tong tatlong to ha. And another sets of important doctrines in criminal law are the following. So we have our doctrine of pro reo, lenity rule, equipoise rule, and utilitarian or protective theory. Madalas din tong lumalabas both in bar questions and board exam questions ng criminology. So doctrine of pro reo, ibig sabihin, penal law shall always be applied liberally and interpreted in favor of the accused and strictly against the state. Ano pong ibig sabihin yan? Ibig sabihin, when there is doubt, always rule in favor of the accused. Again, ang rason dyan is because there's a constitution provision or constitutional guarantee of presumption of innocence unless otherwise proven beyond reasonable doubt. Yan ang ating doctrine of pro reo. Pro reo, ibig sabihin, pro-accused. Okay? Or uh, in favor of the accused. Now, the second one is lenity rule. Almost similar siya sa ating concept of doctrine of pro reo. Under lenity rule, whenever a penal provision is susceptible to two interpretations, one is lenient to the accused and the other is strict to the accused, the lenient interpretation shall prevail. Ibig sabihin, kung ang batas or ang isang criminal law ay pwedeng i-interpret na either mas makakabuti o mas makakasama sa sentensya or penalty ng isang accused, parati nating ginagamit yung mas mabuti o mas mababang sentensya. Because again, we are interpreting liberally in favor of the accused. So, almost same concept sila ng doctrine ng pro reo. Pero sa lenity rule, mas lenient tayo. Kung may two choices, we choose the more lenient one. Okay? Ano naman po ang equipoise rule? Sa equipoise rule, tatandaan, pareho ng ah, bigat ng ebidensya, okay, ng prosecution at defense. So again, whenever the evidence of the prosecution is equally balanced with the evidence of the defense, the scale of justice shall be tilted in favor of the accused. Okay? Pareho ang ebidensya, pareho ang bigat ng ebidensya. So hindi naman ibig sabihin nun, mag-rule tayo in favor of the complainant. Again, presumption of innocence, dapat we rule in favor of the guilt or the accused unless the guilt is proven beyond reasonable doubt. Eh dito, walang reasonable doubt na ma-prove kasi nga pareho ang timbang. Kung mas mabigat sana yung ebidensya ng complainant, doon tayo magkakaroon ng reasonable doubt na proving of the guilt. So, again, equipoise rule, kapag pareho ang bigat ng ebidensya, we rule in favor of the accused. And finally, the utilitarian or protective theory. So, ibig sabihin, ang doktrinang to or ang principle na to means that the purpose of penalty in criminal law is to protect society from actual and potential wrongdoers. Again, actual and potential wrongdoers. So the court should see to it that in imposing a penalty, they are only imposed on potential and actual wrongdoers. And there's also a ruling by the Supreme Court that even in case of violation of special penal law, ano po ba yun yung violation of special penal law? Ito yung mga batas na outside the revised penal code. So normally kasi kapag ang revised penal code may intent of malicious may intent na requirement as an element bago mo ma-convict. While in SPL hindi required ang intent, okay? Basta ginawa mo yan, kesyo may intention ka o hindi, um, meron ka na agad, you're um, convicted na. Okay? So again, in utilitarian or protective theory, kailangan natin, I mean, the purpose of the penalty in criminal law is to protect the society. Protection, kumbaga, or utilitarian or protective theory. So, iyan ang ating mga important doctrines na kailangan nating alamin sa ating pagre-review.